Hi everyone, it's time for Ellen's final quest in the entire game. And this one has a pretty good reward and a pretty interesting story. So, the test is pretty simple in concept. A little more difficult to actually pull off. This is probably one of the tougher quests. But by now we're pretty used to it, and most of the folks we'll be fighting aren't that difficult. So let's take a look at Honeypot, shall we? Sort of sits there, lures enemies in with a charm type effect, and then snaps on them. Simply put, this is an amazing attack that I absolutely love and use all the time. The only problem is that it's a bit indiscriminate, and as you can see, I'm just sort of attacking folks left and right. The problem is that we're supposed to be clearing out specifically the folks that don't belong. Meaning, in this case, the Pukas have to live, because they belong in the fairy realm, and it's the boggarts that we need to fight. So I need to use something that I can target a little bit better. And at least try to keep the Pukas alive as best I can. Every Puka that dies spawns a new boggart, every boggart that dies spawns a new Puka. The total number of folks never actually decreases. So the tricky part of the quest is that you're going to have a whole bunch of folks attacking you at any time, and you can only do anything about so many of them. I think this is the last boggart, and we should be able to see the first scene from the Faery Lord's memories. So nothing really surprising yet, I don't think. We already knew that the Faery Lord had summoned messengers in the past, and none of them added up. Not really sure exactly what it is that Scarecrow saw in Ellen, but he seems to have been right. So now things get a little trickier in Arcadia. The good news is, the Gaboi are the folks that are supposed to be here, and they're immune to anything but destroy. As long as I'm not using Destroy Element on the Answerers, there is absolutely no possibility of me accidentally capturing a folk I didn't mean to. It's just that Gaboi covers quite a big area, and Answerer spends a lot of its time invulnerable to damage. And it managed to slip between Telanthera's attacks. So the problem is mostly just finding places to stand in order to fight. Trying to deal with one Answerer surrounded by 3 Gaboi, each with their own sphere of electricity. It's a tough fight, and they're only going to get tougher. I think if I managed to hit the Answerer with enough bond attacks, I probably would end up drawing out its id, but we're done with that room. So it looks like we're basically following the Faery Lord as he follows Ellen from realm to realm and seeing what he thinks of each one as he encounters it. Should be the Undersea City next. And we've got Brolachan and we've got Daru. So this time we've actually got 2 different types of folks that don't belong. And the good news is the one that turns immediately into the folk that does belong is highly vulnerable to sleep. Which makes things a lot easier. Although, you might want to bring the Cloak of Twilight for this one. So the Undersea City is Tir Nanog, I know I've heard that name before. Just, I don't think I heard it anywhere else in connection to this game. But it's an interesting idea. Is it a city that originally wasn't underwater that's sunken because humans have forgotten about it? Probably a question for Jamie. Anyway, the foreign folks we're dealing with here are Agapanthus and Patriot. And sadly, the folks native to the Endless Corridor are Skriker, which pretty much die if you tap them. So we've got to take out all the folks without hitting the Skrikers too much, because then we'll just get a bunch more folks. And this is probably the worst room to be fighting in, because it's easy to get trapped in a corner and have no way out. Yeah, I can put up a shield, but it seriously won't last long enough. I really actually have to escape from here, and they're not giving me a chance. I'm just probably gonna die right here. When I escape, I have no room for error anymore. So I think about the best I'm going to be able to do is attempt to kill some of the Agapanthus with Radiant to start working on its karmas. Now, at least once the Agapanthus is stunned, Radiant seems to be really, really effective against it. I might have had the room to dodge in time, but didn't manage to pull it off. And I don't think I would have been able to clear the room anyway. So, starting the quest from the very beginning, nothing exciting happened again in the first 3 realms. We're right back here where we started. And again, the big problem is finding a line of attack to hit either the Agapanthus or the Patriot without hitting the Skriker, if at all possible. I think your best bet here, if you figured out the trick to beating Agapanthus, is to break their armor off and then switch to electric attacks, which I don't think are going to be nearly as effective on the Skrikers. And probably not leaning too heavily on Radiant. It's worth building up, but not necessarily in this particular context. I think every Skriker that dies becomes a Patriot, and then the Patriots will become Agapanthus. So we'll see whether I can manage to take them out. Radiant actually works quite well as a trap-type destroy attack. Granted, we've got ambush for that, but Radiant can do a lot more damage. And now it'll spin even longer. But I think now we're down to just one enemy other than the Skrikers. I should hopefully be able to keep them in check here. And again, rely on Thunder Element as much as I can when not fighting Agapanthus with their armor on. Gubboy is a pretty nice targeted attack. And now I don't have Skriker behind me. It's actually probably a good thing the Agapanthus managed to take down the Radiant, because it would have been spinning for a long time and had a bunch of Skriker running into it. Possibly all of them. It might be a good idea to take out the Agapanthus first and just leave the Patriot as it is, because fighting more than one Agapanthus at a time is a lot trickier. Patriots are often content to keep to themselves. Agapanthus will come after you, and it will hit hard. But I'm being a lot more careful now. I don't have any karmas to build up at the moment with any of the folks that I've got. At least anything that I'd be able to do in this room. So that one's done, and I've just got to isolate the other one as much as I can. Step away from the Skriker, please. Maybe one more hit here. And finally, that room may be the toughest one. So seeing the endless corridor seems to have rather drained the Faery Lord's hope for humanity. We know how the story ends, it's just a matter of seeing exactly how it gets there. And I think I'd better heal up one more time before moving on to the final room. I'd like to believe it's time to see what the Faery Lord thinks of Hellrealm, but he seems to have already been aware of that one from the very beginning. Instead, we're back in the Fairy Realm again for the final time, and the native folk is Boobry. So we're going to be fighting a whole bunch of soldier folks, it looks like, and any number of Boobries that are going to spawn when I take them down. And Garbera. As if hawks weren't annoying enough. Yeah, this is a time when I think you really want to take out the hawks first, because I'd rather have a whole bunch of Garbera than a whole bunch of Boobry. I will admit, a lot of Boobry in one room is going to be a challenge. Pretty much just trying to stay out of their way as best I can. Get some ranged attacks in there, but a charging attack against an enemy that moves, not the most effective. And now, once again, I find myself pinned in a corner, but Boobry at least can't pack in nearly as tightly as Agapanthus, and there was room to escape between them. Definitely cannot abandon Habitrote for this fight. We absolutely need to put as many folks to sleep as possible. And that's pretty much the last I'm probably ever going to use of Kaharth. It's not bad, it's just not useful. So both the Faery Lord and Levan had tough choices. And our reward is the final rare item for Ellen's folks. And we've already seen the folk that needs to use it, of course. So I'll just go ahead and pop that into place. Which means that we can use 2 honey pots at once. But Ellen has no quests left to do that in, so next time, we're going to come back and take on the final set of quests, the ones that Keats will be doing at night. See you guys then.